for another amazing panel discussion. With a lot of demand, we have brought back Takadao, and with ourselves, we have Brother Morrad from Takadao, Sister Sharene, and again, Khalid. Before I get started, guys, how's everything? How are you guys doing? What's going on?
Alhamdulillah, ladies first, right?
Yes,
Everything is
exactly.
doing well. Jazakallah khair for asking.
Brother Morrad,
Assalamu alaikum.
Khalid.
Thank you so much for having us, Khaled, brother Khaled, and Ahmed. It's a pleasure being again live with you. Thanks.
Amazing. Khalid, how's everything? What's going on?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hope you're well. I look forward to a fun discussion with some great people.
Amazing. Okay, so today we will be talking about defining Islamic finance, and is crypto the answer, and is DeFi the answer? Now, to start off this discussion, I wanted to ask the first question. What we'll do is, as Sister Shireen has said, ladies first, and from there we'll go from Shireen to Khalid and Khalid to Murad. But if you guys want to like jump in, feel free to jump in. Uh, why should we truly care about DeFi? Like, what's the value that crypto and DeFi is bringing to us? Sister Shireen, let's start with you.
I think maybe I need to explain a little bit about my story.
Hmm.
And as with everything, right, you come to a point in your life and you wonder how you got here. And you realize and you try to point to some event that led you here. And most of the time, there's not one thing that has led us here or led me here, but multiple things in my life that, caused me to end up where I am today. So, the first thing was a very personal experience, which is related to um, my a family friend that we were close to. It was a very young family. I mean, we were family friends because we had kids the same age and we were living in the same city. So it was husband, wife, and three children, and the oldest one was 12. The husband, he goes for Umrah and he drives with his friend, and on the way back, his friend actually fell asleep at the wheel and they hit like a really large truck in front of them, and both of them died. They were killed instantly. And when we heard the news, we went to support the widow. So we went to her home and they lived in a pretty modest 2-bedroom home. But when I got there, I remember it was just filled with women. There was just every single room in the house was full. Everybody had come to offer their support, right? So they brought money, they brought food, they brought like job offers, they brought gifts for the kids, everything. And the thing that struck me then, that experience was that, subhanAllah, she didn't have insurance, she didn't have any like financial means, but she had the community, right? It was the community who supported her. It was the community who made everything eventually all right. And she somehow, she managed to work through that with the support of the community. And today, alhamdulillah, she's thriving with her children. They're in college. I think one of the oldest one just graduated. So alhamdulillah. So this was event number one, I would say. Then the next event that was really pivotal for me was the 2008 financial crisis. So around this time, I was finally awake to what was happening in the financial world. So prior to that, wasn't really paying attention. And what got me during this financial crisis was I was surprised that the very people we trusted to take care and stewardship of our economy, of our money, of our banks, and essentially our lives as a result, were either asleep at the wheel, were completely greedy, were corrupt in some way. And that really got me worried. I was like, subhanAllah, how? And then on top of that, non-Muslim, right? So the stewardship of the financial world today is held in the hands of the U.S. Federal Reserve and the U.S. banks and that group. So I was like, this is not a tenable situation, right? We are so much in the grips of the ribawi system, and it's a bunch of people who really only, they're very much concerned about profit and making as much money as possible. These guys are the ones who are controlling the system. That was event number two. And then event number three was, my last tech startup. So we founded a tech startup, and that was pivotal in that I understand the impact and the ability of entrepreneurs to actually change the world. And this kind of led me to where I am today, which is that I am fully into building in the DeFi space. And if you're anything like me, if you're affected by these forces, then you understand that DeFi is not just something that is like, oh, they're just talking about it in the news, or like, I don't know, some people have made some money on the side. No, this is actually something you need to know and you need to be aware of and cognizant of if you care about your life, control over your finances, if you care about your deen, if you want to be able to live in a world where you can kind of free yourself from riba, you need to care about DeFi. And that's my very long-winded introduction to why should we care about this thing. Over to you,
Well,
Khalid.
before I give it to Khalid, I want to ask you a little bit more into, because you're the sister on the panel. Where does Islamic finance put in, like, go in here? Why is the Ummah or Islamic finance needs to be looking towards DeFi?
So the entire infrastructure of the financial world today is based on interest. There's no real way to get around this. Now, do you want to say if it's halal or not halal? The scholars have permitted it, okay? And I know me and Khalid and Morrad, no, not Morrad, but me, Khalid, and Aziz from Zain5 were having this back and forth on LinkedIn about whether Islamic finance is Sharia compliant, or it's halal or haram. And honestly, the scholars have permitted it. So who are we to say whether it is or it isn't? So it is halal. But we have to understand that it's not optimum because it is based on an infrastructure that is built on riba. Why? Let me give you an example. So how do you think money is created? Money is created on interest-based loans. So the very object that we're talking about now, money, is created on interest-based loans. And in Islamic finance, that's not how it works at all. So we cannot really have build Islamic financial products properly in a system like this. We have to do 10,000 workarounds just to do the same thing, because we have to jump through this hoop and avoid this pitfall. We have instead of one contract, we have 5 contracts in order to make it Sharia compliant. So how can this be an efficient system? How can this benefit us? How can we actually do better if everything we do is so much more complicated, expensive than the non-Islamic finance? So this is I literally forgotten your question now. What was the question?
You started touching upon some very important things, which we will come back to. So I'm gonna actually jump to Khalid now, and then I'm gonna because the second question is gonna be going back towards what you're talking about. Khalid, I'm gonna put you up on the screen, and I want you to take the moment and answer, why should people care about DeFi? And I know you have some amazing posts on LinkedIn in regards to DeFi. So answer, why DeFi? Why should we care?
Sure. So look, firstly, my background is probably different a bit to the others. I'm your sort of old school Gandalf of like banking and Islamic finance, right? I worked at investment banks, Credit Suisse. I was at Moody's for 16 years. So for 20 years, I was an insider into that system, how it works, banks, etc. I'm completely fluent, and I have a very institutional background. I'm not a crypto bro. I'm not a hacker. I
Come
just
on.
kind of okay. I do a bit of video gaming, but like since I had kids, that's kind of over. But my awakening, 2 things. One, the financial crisis, like a lot of people, where suddenly banks, when they make lots of money, they keep it for themselves and their shareholders. But then when they lose lots of money, it's everybody else that has to pay. And this is just a social injustice. And jumping ahead to one of your questions, social injustice in Islam is obviously, I wouldn't say prohibited, but it's Islam is there to prevent social injustice. So that's one thing. The second part of my journey to the dark side is the book, The Bitcoin Standard by Saifuddin Amos, right? I've been working in financial services. My background is actually credit and banking. I never actually questioned the nature of money itself. It's just the system, as Sister Sharene was saying, it's just a system that you're surrounded with, and it's accepted as a de facto standard. And you don't think, that's like you have the the sea, you have the land, you have the sky, and then you have the money. Like as almost it's part of nature, as it were. But then Bitcoin and that book took me down the rabbit hole, the nature of money, the history of money, where it came from, and I highly encourage people to read that book. It's not hard reading. It's, you know, there's history in there, a bit of story. It's quite good reading that I think anybody that wants to understand the world we live in and the nature of money and how money feeds into everything that we do should read that book. So seeing the injustice, seeing the nature of money is not a standard issued by nature. No, there's different forms of money. There's backed money, there's credit money, there's fractional reserve money. There's all these different forms of money that, because they're all interchangeable, we just assume they're the same. And why would you question it? Because they don't teach you at school. The scholars are not teaching us to question the nature of money. It's part of the system.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's actually a level of ignorance for all of us. And look, me, I discovered it very late in life, this money. So going to DeFi, going to money, I'll answer your question from the opposite direction about centralization.
Okay.
I'm a supporter of free markets, competition, survival of the fittest. You know, I think competition gets you the best outcomes. And so having 20,000 different tokens means we have a very competitive environment, and 19,900 of those will disappear within like 2 years for a number of different reasons, few years. But the survivors will be the best, the ones that offer genuine use cases, genuine utility. When you have centralization, you kill diversity, you kill thinking. Whoever has made it to the top of the existing system will push their ideology down to the rest. Now, DeFi, or decentralized finance, says we will have different ideas, different products, different protocols, different startups, different businesses, and from this ocean of chaos for this ocean of chaos, we will emerge winners, and those will be the best situations globally. So that's why DeFi is important. Is the decentralization aspect will allow competition in finance, competition in money, competition in Islamic finance in a way that will ideally bring the best outcomes for society, for the ummah, for the people. So that's the reason for my DeFi passion. I can hear my
amazing.
Is glitching. Is it clearer now? My voice?
No, still slightly cracking. And what we'll do is we'll give you a chance to just fix your mic in between. But I'll jump to Morrad. But before I jump to Morrad, I just want to let everybody know, guys, I see that a lot of people have joined this live, amazing, from across different platforms. So it's connected on Takada's platform. It's connected on MRHB's platform. We're live. We're going live right now on multiple social medias, and I can see so many questions come in and comments come in. There's compliments that are coming in for your brother Morrad, for you, for Sister Sharene, for Khalid. So this is amazing, guys. Whatever questions you have, no matter what platform you're on, just put it in the comment section, and I can get them. I get them live as they're being posted. So I want to ask brother Morrad, very quickly. The screen's gonna be to you. So why should we care about DeFi? And while you're at it, while you're answering this question, put an angle of the Islamic finance discussion in there too, if you may.
So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, I don't know if I'm qualified to make any statement as Islamic finance, because I'm like a layman, like everybody else. I'm just a simple Muslim looking for getting my knowledge from the scholars globally and locally here in Saudi Arabia, and keeping in touch with them and making sure that whatever we do in life is aligned with our Islamic values, of course, and our principle. Okay. So when it comes to a little background of where I come from as well. So of course I'm French Algerian. I was a co-founder of peer-to-peer marketplace for second-hand items here based out of the GCC that got acquired by IKEA Group back then. And last year we started looking at Islamic finance and the product, as Sharene was mentioning, based on a personal, personal experience and also my personal experience when it comes to using different, banking system, insurance availability and stuff like that. Thankfully, we live in an Islamic country, so things are much easier for us, I would say, in order for us to not be affected. And I'm sure that most of our audience are like from outside of Islamic country, where they find it even more difficult for them to abide to some of the product or that are available for them in their own country, whatever it is. So of course I was exposed to I would say back in 2000, I say, I was exposed already when I was a student in the US with the ridiculous scam of the overprinting of the fiat currency. And the first thing when I was there as a student, I was challenging most of the Americans there on the ground in the US about the Federal Reserve, and who were the Federal Reserve, and what was these things, because for most of the American general population, Federal Reserve means it's an institute owned by a federal government, which is completely not true. It's a private company that has been assigned to print US dollars currency. Can you imagine? You substitute, the government has hired a private company to print the money for themselves. And then when I stumbled into that, I was like, oh my God, what's happening here? I right to realize that we were really living in a fairy tale with overprinting and all these kind of things. And I was talking to economists back then. Some of them didn't even know about this and stuff like that. And it became like very recently that now is becoming very, common knowledge among people that Federal Reserve is a private company building and printing money as they go, and they decide about the interest rate and so on and so forth. So going back, of course, to the scholars, to go back to the people who of knowledge and stuff like that, we realize that in order not to affect most of the Muslim in general, because actually whenever the US print a dollar, extra dollars, we are directly impacted. So the last printout that they did recently, we lost directly 30% of the dollar value.
Hold on, bro. No, this is a very key point. This is a very heavy point. Could you go a little bit more in details about this?
So whenever the Federal Reserve of the U.S. government asks the Federal Reserve to print money to be spent, the value of our dollar will devaluate right away. We are directly impacted. We don't. If you live in a dollar zone or dollar peg zone, you don't feel it right away. But this is impacting you right away. As soon as the print class, you have like 20%, 30% all the time devalue on your dollar. Let's say if you were buying an airplane ticket 2 years ago to go to Riyadh to New York, you'll pay, let's say, $1,000. Now you pay, $3,000 to get your airplane ticket. So all these things actually are actually affecting you and affecting you as a Muslim holder of the US dollars. And, we have very little way to hedge against inflation ourselves, because we don't put our money for interest in the bank and so on and so forth. So imagine already just when those guys print and overprint, you're already being affected. So you have less power with every single dollars that you own in your own bank account or in your pocket.
So it's like whenever they print, the power goes more towards the rich on that side, but the actual value loss comes on our side because we're not the ones.
Everybody's losing. Everybody, the rich or the poor, are losing. Let's say if I have $1 billion in the US, even everything will become more expensive. Okay, so when they overprint, everything becomes more expensive. The dollar become less and less valuable. That's point.
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it affects everybody, but it
Mm-hmm.
affects people who have less powerful currency like Turkey, Lebanon, you name it, all those countries who have less power. They need dollar basically to purchase, so they have limited stock of dollars in their own country, so the
Mm-hmm.
economy become affected even faster, and that's why you see all those catastrophe and hyperinflation happening in those countries right away.
Mm-hmm.
But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to a country in the dollar zone, it
AJ,
takes some time before you reflect. And I think Khaled could really more add on that. But
Yeah,
let's
I think
dig.
Khalid. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when it comes to the DeFi,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the question was get into.
Mm-hmm.
So so since we are like little bit stuck with an old system,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to blame nobody for that.
Mm-hmm.
No Muslim should feel guilty. Whomever start working on Islamic finance, trying to move the needle and everything, there's nobody to complain. They all, alhamdulillah, get the ajr.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever right or bad implementation of the system of making banking available for Muslim and so on and so forth, making financial Islamic product available. They are really, let's say, let's face it, they are in the belly of the beast trying to fix a meal for us. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what it is. So I don't blame them. They have been like instrumental into moving the needle and trying to find solution. And that's why I try to avoid the debate of well, everything is haram. What do we do? No. So the scholar have permitted it for an
Mm-hmm.
obvious reason, for the greater maslaha, for the benefit of the Muslim globally and stuff like that, and not being left off of the economical system, which we already are, and directly, they made it okay with a certain rule, okay, and that's why you have the very nascent Islamic finance that took place like 40 years ago and stuff like that, okay. So now, when we look at DeFi and when you look at the new technology, and as Brother Khaled and Sharene were mentioning, they were talking about, Bitcoin and the accessibility of this type of currency and other currency. Some of them are still questionable, but could be interesting to look at. But when we look at, in particular, the DeFi economy, I would say it's an opportunity for the Muslim to actually challenge the status quo of the existing system. To
Mm-hmm.
be honest, we are at the really, really early beginning. Early beginning. So there will be a lot of trial and error, mistake happening and stuff like that. But the good news, this technology that is transparent, clear to everybody, available to the have and have not, the end bank, which is 80% of the African population are end bank, they are giving them an access to a certain kind of liquidity, transparency, and finally getting access to this real economy.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that many brothers have been studying the Bitcoin. Some scholars now are starting to approve it as like edge against inflation, an alternative to the gold-backed system that is not in place. The fractionality of this technology and Bitcoin can make it more scalable. I know a lot of things will develop as we are going, and I think Muslim have been a little bit late into the play because of a lot of restriction. But I think we have a window of opportunity to kind of redefine our financial model using a very stable cryptocurrency to make it happen, and using DeFi. And that's a window of opportunity. And again, it's very early in the game, and I'm looking forward to more discussion on that, inshallah.
I think Khalid, you wanted to intertwine, jump in between there, because I mean, there's some really core and heavy. I mean, the topics that Morrad you brought up, I'm loving it because I have a background in economics,
yeah,
and I wanted to come like I wish we could do like a 3 hour just on each one of those things that you said, because you picked up on three very major points. But that's but we're gonna get back to them maybe inshallah in the future sometime, which I'm gonna bother you guys again about. But Khalid, I think you wanted to jump in, and I'll give you a chance to kind of uh,
yeah. There was
good
something.
sense.
Something very important, I think, for the audience to understand about currency, which is a slight, maybe a bit of a difference. Firstly, very simplistic view of the world. Rich people tend to own assets. Poor people tend to hold cash.
Mm-hmm.
So this money printing that you talk about, this debasement, tends to disproportionately affect those on lower incomes, because those on higher incomes own houses, they own equities, they maybe own paintings, art, real things. And that's an important aspect for the audience to understand, is that why do we even have money? It's so that in the real world we can exchange value, whether that's the value of your services, whether that's the value of goods. Money in itself should not be an item of value. It should be a means of exchange, exchanging value. And so when these governments print money, it's not that your house is becoming more expensive. Lots of young people nowadays can't afford a house. They're living with their parents until they're 40 years old because it's just too expensive. But what's happening, your dollar or your pound or your euro is buying you less of that house. So it's just something very important. So even in DeFi doesn't solve necessarily the inflation problem of debasement. Because guess what? What's the number one currency in DeFi? US dollar stablecoins, right? So it's a bridge, but it doesn't solve the debasement inflation problem. But what DeFi does, inshallah, solve is decentralization, where other forms of money can come into the system. And most importantly, and something that I'm passionate about, is tokenization, asset tokenization, real estate tokenization, commodity tokenization, business equity tokenization. Once you start to bring real world assets into the ecosystem and you combine it with DeFi, then you can get decentralized commerce, decentralized business, decentralized wealth. So, I can do business with Morrad from the other side of the world because there's this network that allows us to engage, in theory, in a trustless way. But you still need the real world to register your property, to dig out the gold, to sell your cars. So you can never have a completely DeFi world. It needs to intersect with real world assets. So I just wanted to make the point about assets being crucial, and that money should be a means to exchange assets. And you can escape debasement to an extent by holding assets of some form or other that you can eat, sleep in, drive, work for, etc., etc.
MashaAllah. Before I go to the next question, and the panel, I prompted you guys your second question. You guys can check in the chat. Everybody, I just want to let you know I'm getting a lot of good interaction from YouTube. If you're on LinkedIn, you're watching through LinkedIn, you're watching through Twitter, put everything in the comments. That's going to help the algorithms. And B, whichever platform you're watching this on, just like, share, subscribe, share, send this to all the friends that you want them to become financially free, learn more about Islamic finance, learn more about DeFi. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Sister Sharene now. And Sister Sharene, I know the last topic was a heavy one, but I want to merge this towards, okay, what value does this have for me as an individual? Can crypto adoption lead me into true Islamic finance freedom? So I want your 10 cents on this, please.
So Khalid talked about something, and I wanted to add on it, and hopefully it's a good segue.
Okay.
I just came back from the US, and in the US, I don't know, my son was explaining that how they live is basically they borrow till they die, essentially, right? So the rich people, in order to keep their assets, and it's because this is the way the system is set up, they actually borrow money, they have the assets, and then they pay it off later on with devalued dollars, and that's how they stay rich. And then you have people like the CEOs of big companies like Amazon and Tesla and stuff like that. So instead of getting a salary, what they will get are stock options or stock grants. they will deposit these stock grants with the bank as collateral, and then they will borrow from the bank, and then later on pay off with, again, devalued money. Now, the stock grants, which are the assets, grows in value, all right, and the actual cash devalues over time. So they are paying less and less over time. And on top of that, they don't pay taxes because you don't pay tax on a loan. And this is how the rich people actually manipulate the system in order for them to stay rich. Now, what that means is it disproportionately affects us, the Muslims, who cannot deal with any of this. We cannot borrow because of interest. We cannot loan because of interest. And none of this makes any sense for us. So we are systematically excluded from being able to hold on to our wealth. For us, it's like, the sand. It just, you earn some money and the sand just pours out of your fingers. You cannot hold on to your wealth. Because, if you want to buy assets, you need cold hard cash. Or you need to go to the bank to borrow and get interest. So there are ways. So here we are, we're struggling to figure out how actually to do a very simple thing, which is that we want to earn money and be able to keep the money. That's really all. We don't even care about like getting rich. We just don't want to work all this time, earn our money, and then still become poor and get poorer over time. And so this is the thing that DeFi and crypto helps us to solve. We can now build systems which take us out of this riba system, which allows us to collaborate with other people around the world, and that will then enable us to have this kind of financial tools that we can use, right, in order to move ahead in our lives. Now, this is what a lot of us innovators are doing. This is what Marhaba is doing. This is what Takaturn is doing. This is what we're doing with Takaturn, which is our new product that we're launching today, which is how do we now collaborate as a community? Because this is what decentralization is about. It's about community. It's about bringing a bunch of different people so that there's not one person or one authority that makes all the decisions, right? So this is where I see DeFi going. There was a second part to this question, correct?
Yes. The second part was, how does it benefit me? And how can crypto adoption lead us to true Islamic financial freedom?
Okay. So I talked about how really the simple goal for everybody, and a lot of people come into DeFi, they want to make money, become rich, they want to speculate. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the simple goal of the Muslim, which is I want to earn a decent a living, halal. I want to be able to save my money in a halal form, and I want that I'm not poor, even though I work so hard over 20 years. I want to make sure that my money keeps its value and I'm not poor at the end. This is all I want to do. I'm not Elon Musk. I don't want to become like richer and richer over time, right?
Yeah.
Even this we cannot do with the traditional financial system, but you can with crypto today.
Yeah.
Now, the base use case is Bitcoin, right? Because of the scarcity, because people cannot just keep printing Bitcoin, therefore it will maintain its value. It's very much like a digital form of gold. Why is gold chosen as the sort of natural money? It's not because, I mean, of course, it was mentioned in the Quran and everything, but that came after the fact. Gold was money before even the Quran was revealed. Why was it chosen by humanity at large? Because of scarcity, because you cannot go and make gold in a lab. You have to dig it out somewhere. You have to exert time and energy and effort to go and mine it. And because of this, gold became a good store of value. And likewise with Bitcoin was designed to be this way. Today, why can't you do this with gold? Somebody will say, well, if that were the case, well, I'm just going to go and buy gold instead of hold dollars. Recently, we actually were in Singapore and we bought some gold, right? Because we're gold bugs, right? We wanna diversify. And we live in Saudi Arabia. So on the way back, they stop us at the customs. They're like, what is this? So we explained to them, yeah, this is whatever. This is just gold, da, da, da. And they were like, okay, you have to pay taxes on it. We're like, sure, fine. And we passed through the customs. The point of this story is that, number one, you cannot move gold around without somebody knowing. Impossible. You want to go through a border, you're going to get an X-ray check and they're going to find you and they're going to find your gold. Number two, you have to pay taxes on it. And it's still a controlled commodity.
Mm-hmm.
So what choices do you have as a Muslim now if you want to hold on to your value? You don't have that many. It's really assets, hard assets. It's really something like Bitcoin. And it's like what Khalid is talking about, tokenized assets,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so um, this is how I think this is why I think it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Muslims, we have to take back the narrative. Uh, we have been the innovators centuries for centuries and centuries, and actually we continue to be the innovators, but not under the guise of but we're not identified as Muslim innovators anymore. We're just innovators.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to take back the narrative, and we have to do something for ourselves now, for our community,
Mm-hmm.
that makes it so that we can benefit. Like you're saying, how can crypto benefit us? We have to come in now and do the things that we want to use and build the things that we want to use. And yeah, I think that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna take this to Murad and then back to Khalid after. Um, Brother Murad, the segue has been done. We had a great conversation before about the fiat system, what's going on with the money, what's the concept of value. So crypto, we're looking at as a solution. How does it lead me to have true Islamic finance freedom?
So, as we mentioned, we have all this issue going on. So let's say I'm a layman, so I'm going to talk in a very layman understanding here. As Muslim and non-Muslim alike, we are really, really pushed into being a consumer. So you have all this multitude of buy now, pay later. So I'm really, there's no more saving. There's nothing. It's like just buy, buy, buy.
Mm-hmm.
And why you have this? We all know why. It's like again, if you don't buy now, the value of the things will be more expensive. And this is all this kind of things that makes you like in a consumption system. And if you touch the credit system, even among Muslims, they say, brother, if you touch this, the economy will go down. We're not going to feel good anymore. And we're going to lose job. And, it's going to be impacting. There's a lot of call on everything. So, but when you look at simple people who are working on a daily basis, they're earning salary, okay? And this salary actually will actually enable them to buy less and less over time. The
Mm-hmm.
salary actually, that's the only thing so far that is not moving up. You can talk to any people in any country, everything goes up except the income. So when you face with that, you're like, how? And we're talking about the masses. How do I fight that? And I feel like there's like this concept of making people more and more dependent and poor to be submissive, to the system. When your belly is empty, you don't raise your voice, you don't talk, you
Oof.
just try to find two, three, four jobs to get you done.
Uh-huh.
And that's what's happening. I
Yeah.
was in Turkey, old people over 80 years old carrying my luggage at the hotel. I see, and I thought he was one guy, and I see the guy at the counter was also above 70. The guy cleaning the room was 85. I said, "What's going on? I'm in a matrix somewhere in another planet where
Mm-hmm.
everybody's old."
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the reality that's the people who could not live with their regular income in this country, and it's happening in every country. So you work until you drop, literally. Okay, so how do you go, you as a regular guy and stuff like that, to fight this kind of system? And what are the opportunities that you can look? And I don't try to make a blank statement that everything is clean in the DeFi space. uh, I'm not giving a investment advice or anything like that. I need people to educate themselves, okay, to look at the alternative and what certain cryptocurrency and certain DeFi product can help them
Mm-hmm.
in order to hedge against inflation and extend the salary and start putting some of the
Mm-hmm.
income into some kind of currency that can, and they have to make their own search and stuff like that, knowing what is best for them and what return they can get from that. in order to at least not miss out. So this technology, this currency are there. There are brothers building, mashallah, like Marhaba DeFi and ZenFi. A lot of brothers are building DeFi product where they try to find way to edge against this very difficult time. And these products are good for Muslim and non-Muslim
Mhm.
alike, because
Alhamdulillah.
it's not like we are the only one affected. We are the most affected because we kind of try to stay away from riba. So the non-Muslim, they benefit from the riba system in somehow, but we don't. So we're
Mhm.
sponsoring this thing. So if there's an alternative way to build certain product in a DeFi space that can extend and allow us to extend our cash now for the future, and you're talking about betting in something that will be your retirement plan
Mhm.
for the next 5 years. So some, for example, some football players that what they do, they know their career is limited to 5 years, and they know they are making a tons of cash now.
Mhm.
But the standard of living is very high as football player. So they say, how do I maintain, for example, my standard of living when those 5 years are gone?
Mhm.
So they're looking real estate businesses and stuff like that. Most of the time, also, they're losing a lot of big money because they don't know how to invest. Usually, they give their money to the advisors and stuff like that to invest in business that might not bring a return. So some
Mhm.
of them have been studying the Bitcoin, for example, and they saw that putting a certain amount of the income now to the Bitcoin to be available in the next 5 to 10 years would be an edge against inflation and kind of help them out. So if we
Mhm.
can find something relevant in the DeFi gold backing system and everything that can help us extend our
Mhm.
actual cash today for the future, that's
Mhm.
something that people should question and start digging into that. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's my 2 cents on that.
I'm gonna so Sister Shareen talked a little bit about gold, and you also talked about finding an asset or a system where you can uh, put your money in. And before I jump to Khalid, I have Nakib, the CEO of Marhaba. He sent a comment, and I'm gonna just prop it up on the screen right now very quickly. And this is like a dirty plug or a sneaky plug for our product Tijarex. He says Sister Shireen should have bought gold via Tijarex. She could have carried tons of it in a small ledger, and then smiley face, which is true. I mean, you can buy millions of dollars of gold and just keep it in your ledger or your in Tijarex.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's ridiculous because you cannot anymore. It's you feel limited by your travel
Hmm.
and limited in your own money. You cannot buy things anymore
Yeah.
easily. So yes, the DeFi is the solution, as
Hmm.
brother Nakib is saying here.
Or
Yeah,
or or I have some friends. They have
AJ.
they have Rolexes. They walk across the airport. Anyway, let's not get into that.
You don't
Yes.
find them, unfortunately. You're
Yeah.
buying Rolex and watches, expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Now you cannot find them even. They don't
Yeah.
sell them. They are too
Yeah.
too hard to get even. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
true. It's true. Okay, Khalid, the floor's with you right now, but I'm going to change the conversation just slightly. Not just can crypto adoption lead us to true Islamic finance. I want you to be a little bit more specific. Okay, I want you to give examples if that's possible, because it's not like about talking about well, crypto is this holy solution. There's people who are wanting to learn more about exactly what can I do in crypto or in DeFi so I can have a better financial freedom as a Muslim.
Yeah, you're not going to really like my answer, right?
That's fine. That's the whole point of this. This is a panel
Yeah, yeah. Look,
discussion.
even though I'm passionate about DeFi as a journey and the end game, uh, it's not. Crypto is not necessarily the answer now. Like, I wouldn't want people to go and put 100% of their savings in crypto, right? Because crypto means a lot of different things. It's a very generic term. Crypto is just a technology,
Hmm.
and it's very volatile.
Hmm.
So again, not investment advice, but diversification. Spread your money across different assets. Some
Hmm.
in Bitcoin, some in crypto, some in real estate, some in this, some in that. And don't put money you can't afford to lose in a volatile asset. Now, even gold,
Hmm.
here's the problem with gold. Um, there's the physical supply of gold, but then there's the gold derivative markets, which are 10 times the size. And even though central banks are buying gold like crazy, the price hasn't jumped as much. So there's commentary that market is using derivatives to drive down the price of gold, using non-tangible fiat money to drive down the price of gold. So this could last a long time. So putting all your money in gold, a non-yielding asset, is also not the solution, because you don't know how long this manipulation or suppression may continue. Is it a few years? Is it 5 years? But if you look at gold since, I don't know, 70s, it's probably gone up by 40x. But if you look at the last 8-9 years, it's just been going sideways pretty much. So again, caution about putting money into non-yielding assets. I would probably buy equities in gold miners.
Okay,
right?
interesting.
So shares in businesses that are linked to gold, etc. I'm a big fan of uranium, actually. So I hold stocks in equities in uranium miners. So for me, until you get this yielding ecosystem on chain, actually your options are not that wide. Now you do have within the ecosystem halal staking in the shape of Miro, where you can generate sort of 5%, 10% kind of yields, but it's in Marhaba tokens. You can also do halal liquidity mining and yield farming, etc. Again, these are complicated terms, but once again, there are sources of yield in DeFi. And again, shameless plug, Marhaba DeFi brings those to the community in a halal way. But then even then, it should only be part of a diversified portfolio. Don't go putting all of your money into DeFi. It's just not there yet. Money you can afford to lose. Bitcoin, DeFi, equities, really, a balanced portfolio of real world, old world, new world technologies. Diversification is key. And for the higher risk stuff, make sure that it's risk adjusted. Don't put your life savings, don't put the money you need for your school fees into crypto, right? You still need to, the world is not there yet, but inshallah we will build it.
Yeah. Okay. We talked a little bit about disposable income. So be careful, guys. No matter what you do, whatever investment you do, and whatever funds you have that you want to multiply over time, it's about disposable income, not necessarily things that are your necessities. So if your responsibilities of a family, those are your first responsibilities, not necessarily trying to make all that money. Sister Sharene wanted to jump in. So, sister.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, look, there are different strategies to do this. And if I go back to the original problem, which I was trying to solve for, which is how can I preserve my wealth, right? Simple me, I don't really want to trade. I don't really want to, do anything complicated. The first thing we need to do is to be able to save money, right?
Yes.
To be able to save money to hopefully generate a little bit of a yield or passive income on the money that we're saving, and in a way that is Sharia compliant. That's essentially, I think, the first step for most Muslims who are just like, I don't know that I'm in it to get rich, but I really don't, I want to protect my wealth and I don't want to get poor. So here, that's what we're doing, right? So between Marhaba, ourselves, and a bunch of other players, we're trying to build these systems that allow people to do just that, to save money, to generate a yield, to be able to access loans as well. Because one of the pain points for Muslims is that, look, everything is getting so expensive. And if we want to get assets, we need loans. How can we access loans that don't have interest? And this is where the community steps in. So what we're doing, and actually we're launching today, is a product called Takaturn, which allows people to pool their resources together. And actually each one takes a turn to both save money and get a loan. So these are the types of products that we need more and more of.
Mm-hmm.
Now we obviously launched this one, and we're obviously doing this one, and we love for everyone to come and join because there's a community play. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do this alone. It's not one person. I go to the bank and I make a loan. No,
Mm-hmm.
it's many people coming together, and we're helping each other to achieve our savings and our yield generation and
Mm-hmm.
our loan and our sort of fundraising goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're obviously doing this one, but look, my message today really is one of everybody needs to start looking into this space carefully. Everybody needs to start learning about it. Everybody needs to start trying it. And as Khalid say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try it. Go with a
Yeah.
small, easy thing that you understand, right? Test
Mm-hmm.
it out. And then everybody needs to start engaging and telling the innovators. If you're an
Mm-hmm.
innovator, start building. If you're not an innovator, come and talk to us and tell us this is what we really want.
Yeah.
And then this is how you go about building the initial bits of a platform. And you
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about Islamic finance is a huge thing, right? But we got to start small, bit by bit by bit. This is how we get there.
I I wanted to kind of talk a little bit my own personal experience about what she's saying. So in regards to this financial tool, and it's a beautiful one because in essence, as Muslims, we look at communal living. How do we help one another out and work together so we all can be uplifted? And this system of building funds or like getting some savings for yourself is actually very successful. And a lot of third world countries, and I know personally, like in Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, in Bangladesh, they use this for major funds. Like if there's one person who's trying to buy a house, they'll go into this lending system or financing system, which they can be part of for the next 3 years, and they're only making small monthly payments, but they get a massive payout, and they can actually go towards buying a car, putting in a big investment into a house and all these things. And so, mashallah, bringing that to the Web 3.0, it seems pretty exciting. I want
Yeah.
to, yes, Brother
We-
Morrad, you want to jump in?
yeah. Yeah. Just to quickly,
Amazing.
as we all saying,
Hmm.
be careful, be aware, be educate yourself and stuff like that. What is important is this defied economy. It's new,
Hmm.
okay, and it's exciting because, as Khaled was mentioning, the digitalization of asset. That's where actually the people who want to diversify in the future, I could, as he said, own $100 of uranium, in a producing uranium country, gold, silver, whatever, real estate, land. So all these kind of things will bring the beauty of the DeFi world, basically.
Hmm.
It still needs to build. Right now, we have the infrastructures taking place, the crypto, the blockchain, and everything. What are the right way to do it? Like you guys are building already these infrastructures and everything. And now we need the gas station, where we refill our things. We need, like I was saying yesterday at the conference, you guys at the IT conference, Riaz, you guys build the freeway, beautiful freeway, 4 lines, light. You give me a Tesla to drive, and when I stop at the first gas station that you build, there's only diesel fuel, not even essence.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's what's happening. So, guys, it's a new space. It's
Hmm.
very exciting
Hmm.
for all of us, but we're still really early in the game. And all these things that can happen in a decentralized way, like we say, you could have a decentralized bank, you can have decentralized product, and we encourage actually builders, developers to come and join into this venture. We
Hmm.
need more Muslim to be involved, engineer, tech, and everything, to be involved in building these things. Okay, we
Hmm.
need more gas station with all type of fuel.
Hmm.
Okay, that's what matters. And that was my 2 cents on that.
Amazing, mashallah.
AJ,
Yes.
sorry, I just want to make an important point because there was a question in the Q&A where someone said, "Is DeFi just for Muslims?"
Yeah.
Uh, Look, the problems that we're talking about affect everybody of
Hmm.
low middle income, whether you're Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Sikh, Buddhist, it doesn't matter. We
Hmm.
exist in a fiat money system. So DeFi 100% is for everyone. And what's interesting, look, Muslims, we didn't invent the prohibition on riba, right? The Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, they also had prohibition on riba. So just to show that this DeFi is a universal solution for all of humankind, not to be too narrow. And whether you're a Muslim founder or an ethical founder or a Christian founder, it doesn't matter. If you're sensitive to these challenges that are ongoing, it affects everybody. And so just to make that point, because somebody asked, it's an inclusive solution.
I'm gonna get to the questions in the things, but before that, I need permission from you guys. Can we extend this podcast for another 20 minutes? Because there's one minute question that needs to come in between this, and then we're gonna go to the Q&A. Is that okay? Can I get?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, amazing. All right. The next thing, and we're talking about things to get involved with. However, I think there needs to also be a discussion before we jump into things or investments or all this stuff. I think there needs to be an essence of due diligence. And so I wanted to bring up that last question before we go into Q&A I have a lot of questions. MashaAllah, we have a lot of people who are very active, and I think we had a great conversation today. So some red flags or some due diligence elements that we should be looking at before jumping into it could be any uh, um, um, investment, or it could be even Islamic finance investments. So I think we need to be a little bit more cautious. Your perspectives on this. Who wants to go first?
Sure. I mean, I'll as the glass half empty person in the room, I'll probably take that. Look,
But one caveat: just be quick. Just be quick, because we have a lot of questions.
No, look. A couple of simple things. Firstly, do be cynical as a general rule about the space. It is risky. There is a lot of misunderstanding, fraud, scam, etc. So be cautious as a starting point. But a shortcut is the team. And does the team stand behind what they're building? Do they put their names on the line, reputations on the line? If you have projects where people are hidden, or you don't know who they are, or maybe they're completely anonymous, you don't even know, right? If people aren't willing to stand behind what they do, that for me is, I would say, a bit of a red flag. The second thing is, and this is more from a business sense standpoint, are they building something useful, right? Are they building something that is needed? Is there product market fit? What's the roadmap? So if there's a problem and they're solving a problem, as Takadao, inshallah, is doing, as Takaturn is doing, as Marhaba, we perceive there to be problems, and we're quite clear about what we're trying to solve. Again, not to be conflicted, but everybody here clearly is willing to stand behind their projects in public, and from the top of the highest mountain, we will, shout our voices. So if we're wrong, we're wrong. I'm not saying we're right. Everybody in this room, we could be completely wrong, but our niyyah, our intention is out there for the world to see. And, you can't say that we didn't try, or, we misled you. We're being honest and open. There's risk, but just be open and transparent. So if that's missing, that for me is I would say, a concern for any project in any business in any market.
Sister Sharene, Brother Morrad, this is open panels now.
I don't have anything to add. I think Khalid is right. Everybody needs to do their own due diligence. The space is nascent. There's a lot of issues with projects which are scammy to begin with. Generally speaking, DeFi is a little bit more safe because there's a lot of transparency. However, for the average person to get into DeFi, there's like a whole long journey before you can get there. So as first steps, like Khalid said, do your homework, check out who's behind the project. I think that's usually a very good first step.
I just want to add one point to here. Sorry, Morrad. Is because I do a lot of helping youth understand how to get into different investment methods. You spend 4-year degree on one topic, and then you go to job about it, right? So think about this as an investment as something bigger than your degree, because degree and job is only going to get you the income that sustains you, but investments is potentially here to make you retire, give you financial freedom, which is bigger than the income that sustains you. So that being said, spend the time to educate yourself for sure in regards to any tool of investment. That's crypto, stocks, real estate, commodities, blah 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 blah, or even starting your own business. Doesn't matter. Spend some time to educate yourself, brother Morrad. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, just to add on that, when you say spend your time, what makes me laugh is like when I talk to a brother that just came, and mostly it's always the same thing. They come to Riyadh, I need to buy a car. The guy will search the entire internet, he will visit 25 workshops to buy a car for 10,000 riyal. Subhanallah.
Mhm.
He will try to find the DNA, where the car comes from, looking for every single aspect to buy a four-wheel for 10,000 riyal. Habibi, you have some cash, you want to invest, do your homework as well. Do the same thing you do for the car and for the wife, by the way. So it applies for the wife as well. They will question the entire Google network family, who's that woman, to get. So do the same thing. Apply the same principle. Simple as that. When it
Mashallah.
comes to this, put the line, okay, you did this, do the same. Then come to the people who are building, like Khaled was saying. Talk to the people who are visible, people who have a track record of building company, doing things. It's easy to open a liquor store, to rob a bank like they do, and so. No, this is hard work. The haram is easy to get if you want to get it. So when a Muslim is building a halal product, he will
Mhm.
face a lot of challenge.
Yeah.
Don't jump onto the brother because of ABC small challenge that come around the world.
Mhm.
Judge him on if he's an unethical guy, not good, and he try to pull rag, something like that. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, we have not been helped with the crypto bros who are actually abusing this beautiful technology. And we
Mhm.
wish, inshallah, to get rid of them pretty soon. And that's my battle. When I go to those conferences, I point them right away. I say, you look very bad, my friend. And even the investors, they are playing the game of, I want to buy you token. Why you want to buy my token? Why do you want a token for?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
so we have all these kind of things. So we have to be very, very open.
Mhm.
Talk to our community. You know what is community first? We didn't build this for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Takada, Marhaba, DeFi, Zenfi, all those guys were building. We build this for a community. If the community want us, let's be visible, outspoken. Let's speak about our mistake. We make mistake on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But in a business, trust me, this is nature of business. You
Mhm.
will win, you will lose some, gain some.
Yep.
I think there's an opportunity for everybody. Again, invest what you can lose. Trash can is
Mm.
there. I have a trash can there. When I go to my investor, I say, how much are you willing to lose now? It's like, okay, this is how much. Okay, khalas, put it in my business. You know? So don't, it's fair. We're
Yeah.
experimenting, testing. So guys who are listening to the audience,
Mhm.
I want people who are willing to little bit lose in that business as well.
Mhm.
When you first use your credit card online,
Mhm.
how many times you get fish and you lose some money and you go back to your bank, it's too late.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're in the same early stage. So do your homework, talk to the audience, talk to the founder, talk to the community. And please, those 5 cents post criticizing a founder, those guys, they're usually anonymous. They don't come. Come, show me your face, brother. Let's debate. Let's talk. Come. You want to challenge the founder? Come. Welcome. Marhaba, like we say. But again, we want people to do their homework like they do
Yeah.
for the. I have a list, by the way, of the car checking stuff that they have. Do the
Mhm.
same thing for the business. Okay.
Yeah.
Then come willingly, willing to dispose. We want the people who have disposable income because this is new journey. I don't want the people who say, "Yeah, hey, this is my food," or "This is no, keep it, my friend. This is my college kids. Keep it, my friend." I
Mhm.
want Muslim well off, I would say, or in the segment. Alhamdulillah, we have enough. We have,
Alhamdulillah.
and non-Muslim, we have enough of those people who have certain cash to kind of test this new technology. Tech. The big loss can happen, the big loss can happen. Be careful, be aware. There's phishing happening. There's people in MetaMask trying to scam you. There's a lot of talk to your kids. They know what phishing is all about. Talk to your children. They know how to avoid all those scams because they have been exposed to those things because they're 24H on the internet.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
talking to my son last time. I say, oh, I tried. Somebody sent me that. Oh, he was an encyclopedia of all those potential
scams.
crazy people who try to scam you. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of things, but that's the internet for you. Don't be.
yeah.
That's what happened also for credit card payment, whatever. But inshallah, let's go to Q&A. And sorry for taking this time.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And I think it's good to have a precaution. And one more note, just I want to do before I get to the Q&A is that remember the biggest successful companies out there right now: Amazon, IBM, uh, Google. Just go read about how many years they were in pure loss, or read about how many years they had nothing that was like revenue generating or anything before they actually became what they became. So it's about understanding the vision and working with that. Okay, so I'm gonna prompt up the questions also, but let's be quick. And I'm only choosing the questions that I think are gonna get a good valuable answer out. So first of all, we're gonna start off with this one. uh, what are the negative implications of bringing other forms of money? Isn't the point having one thing that is decentralized, like Bitcoin? From Sasha.
Oh,
Yeah, whoever
yeah.
wants to
Look,
go.
I'll tell you. Look, uh, even Bitcoin, there's nodes, there's people, there's the market's manipulated, there's a lot of insider trading and so on. So even Bitcoin is still at 1%, 2%, maybe 5% of its journey. So maybe in 10 years, or it might be a stable substitute, but having different forms of money, you have competition. The best form of money will win in the end because there's a saying, I think Gresham's law, good money drives out bad. Because
Hmm.
people start to understand this one is working, this
Hmm.
one is losing. As human beings, you will naturally move to the one that's working. So that's why you need, even now, Bitcoin is a good option, but we're early. Let lots of forms of money, and in a few years or 10 years, the best one will win.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Khalid. The thing about money, which people don't really realize, is that it only matters if there's consensus. If people come together and they decide this is the thing we want to use as the exchange of value, as the store of value, then it becomes money. So this is what we need. We need to have those options so that eventually people will converge to one. But that doesn't mean that you only have one and then you cannot
Yeah.
go and build some other platforms off of that one. But yeah, it's actually not a decision that we make. It's a decision that the humanity comes to automatically by themselves based on the fundamentals of the money.
Yeah, it's a Bitcoin is a good start, as you guys say. It's the peer to peer. It's easy to transact and everything, and it's still very difficult for a lot of people to actually trade in that fashion. How you cash out, how you cash in. But it's a good way of exchanging right now.
Hmm.
Fun, and people travel here and there, and they want to cash out this way. That's fine. But as Khaled say, we're still very early in the game, very, very early in the game. The people who can look at it more carefully and see how to play with this currency, that's fine. But we see that different blocks are coming together to try to create a different currency, and it's not even happening yet. And it might take years and years and years before getting rid of the dollar standard and stuff like that. So there's not one thing fit all. Now dollars is still the king, and unfortunately, but we need alternative, and inshallah maybe more cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin could be a small way to get there, but we are like a 1%, as you mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. I think Khalid already answered this. Is DeFi systems suitable for only Muslims? What about non-Muslims in DeFi systems?
No,
Um,
no, it's for look. Actually, the non-Muslim are more active in the DeFi. They want their freedom,
mhm.
especially when they come from a liberal country. We remember the fiasco of the truck drivers in Canada.
Yes.
We remember the 2008 crisis where the bank were failing like I don't know, the water in the sky. So that was crazy. So non-Muslim actually they were the driving force into the DeFi. Okay, and it's actually for more freedom and more ability to own things. And that's one of the tenet of the usually American people who like really they want to value everything as a freedom. But for the Muslim, we kind of late in even in the game we've been like starting debating if Bitcoin is halal or not halal. It's in last week even. So again, this is something that the DeFi is really is for everyone. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next question, just for fun, just for some giggles. When are we gonna Marhaba gonna get tokenized Rolexes? I have taken a note of this. I'll get this to the CEO of Marhaba and the CTO of Marhaba about when are we gonna get Rolexes tokenized.
If you get tokenized Rolexes, then it's going very wrong, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, that's all I've got to say on that side of things.
Um.
I did want to say something about the tokenized
Mhm.
economy. It is still a worry for me because of the centralization of the custody, right? So if you have something that you're tokenizing and it's a physical good and it needs to be kept somewhere, then there is this issue of, this, there's a point of failure. If the, I don't know, the Rolex gets robbed or somebody sits on it and it breaks, and so this is the other concern. But
I think this.
anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's about also protection. Same thing with gold. How do you protect gold? Like, silver coins, gold coins. How do you protect them, right? Okay, this one's I thought it was an interesting one. Rich Khalid said rich people buy assets, poor people save. Whereas Shane saying we need to save and retain the value of our money. What was there a difference of opinion here, or you guys want to clarify?
No,
I think we're on the same page here.
yeah.
For me, it's like because we cannot access debt, so we need to save first before we can buy
Hmm.
assets, right? Otherwise, you'll be buying, I don't know, peanuts as assets because you can't afford anything that, like real estate and cars and things like that. So that was my point, really.
Yeah. To add up on that, for the
Yeah,
Muslim
listen, look,
audience, there is actually go ahead. There's actually I don't see any conflicting here. It's fine. What's important is on the saving. There's notion of barakah as well, guys. As a Muslim, we believe in that. We truly believe in that. So sometimes your money can last you longer than you can imagine. So
Hmm.
when you avoid the haram and you try to make an effort to use products that are shari, that the brothers are trying to build something. This notion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala putting barakah as well. Don't never forget about that. So
Hmm.
they might be manipulating everything, but the notion maybe of saving and you try to avoid the haram to get into something can last longer, and we have to stop, chasing, or like they call in the US, like keeping up with the Joneses. I have no Joneses around the neighborhood, so I'm fine. So one thing that has to do is like be patient and be careful. That's and trust in Allah subhanahu.
Fair.
yeah,
Khalid, yeah.
look, take the example of a house. If you have to save your deposit for your house, $50,000 or 30,000, by the time you saved up 50,000, the price of the house would have gone up by more than 50,000 probably, right? So you'll always be stuck if you keep in cash. And I saw the comment, but assets have a high barrier to entry. This is what DeFi and tokenization should solve. I should be able to buy 100th of a house or 1/10 of a house while I'm waiting to accumulate the wealth. If you keep it in cash, especially now with inflation running at 8 to 10%, you will be always behind. So even with your cash, now whether you put it in a Saudi Arabian government sukuk or somewhere, now a sukuk needs $200,000. People don't have that kind of money lying around. So this is why the DeFi tokenization answers those questions that your audience has raised, because then I can put $100 into this and $200 into that, into a it's got to be a stable yielding asset. So land in Riyadh, if I can buy, a tenth of a plot for a few hundred or something, that's probably better than cash. So high barrier to entry, but I still don't think if you wait to get the cash, you'll always be behind. So you need to start investing early, small amounts.
Amazing.
Yeah. So this is exactly the point, right? So you need to be saving, and your savings needs to be earning something for you on the side. And this is what DeFi can actually
Yeah.
bring, and this is what we're actually trying to
Make
bring
your
to the
money work
table.
for
Yeah.
you. Okay, guys, I got a few really juicy questions coming up, so get the coffee in. This is the next one. And this is one that is a difficult one, I think, to answer, but I guess I'm gonna let you guys answer it. So yeah, what is your earliest estimate of when the Muslim community or society actually comes together to utilize halal DeFi? When do you think is like you think there's gonna be a cusp of that moment?
The Web3 community and the crypto community is still at the very early stage, okay? Globally, we represent maybe 0.5%. I was talking yesterday at the conference, Ethereum, talking about 400 million people on the DeFi, on the digitalized, DeFi space, Web3 space. Then 400 million. Maybe
No, it's 400 million
wallet, yeah,
wallets.
400 million wallet only. So imagine. So out of those 400 million, maybe 200 million are active. Okay, so it's really new. It's very exciting. It's a blue ocean. There's a big potential growth into that. So I would say start digging, understanding what's happening now, and getting the opportunity to be in that space as soon as possible. Educate yourself. Yeah.
Anybody else?
I don't think there's an answer. I don't think there's an answer to this question. There's too many parameters here. What do you actually mean when that the society comes and utilizes halal DeFi? This is al ghaib. Allahu
Allah
alam.
alam. Okay, then I guess we can go to the next one, and I think this is more of a questions for our organizations, and I think we both have representation, so we can kind of answer this. How are DeFi platforms like Marhaba and Takada prepared to manage potential financial crisis, which we can foresee potentially in the upcoming, months or maybe a year?
So I want to quickly jump in here and say the financial crises are a result of the fiat
Mm-hmm.
system. Right, the fact that we have these cyclical ups and downs are because the fiat system is broken to begin with. So the way that money is created always causes this bubble to build, and then they play with interest rates up down up down up down in order for us to avert a crisis, which is a natural consequence of the way that the system is set up, the way money is created, and this focus on debt and interest. This is the reason for the financial crisis. So DeFi, if we build it properly and everything is not about debt and interest, then you're not going to see that kind of situation where you have these financial crises. Now, of course, today, crypto world is still very much tied up to the real world. And what we need to do is to decouple these two, right? And I see this happening because a lot of people are now adopting crypto as their main money. Now, it isn't nearly to the extent that we like, and it's still very much, tied to stable coins, and so it's still tied back to the, to the US dollar economy. But nonetheless, we see people increasingly adopting crypto as their main form of money, and eventually this decouples from the financial system. And I think DeFi in general, it's not up to Marhaba or Takadao to handle this. DeFi in general is pushing for that.
Yeah, look, financial crises are actually banking crises, right?
Mm.
And banking crises are through lending, credit. So you'll always have financial crises for every cycle. I don't think, a bit different to Sharene, I don't think you can decouple because until you have a global system where fiat money is not anchoring, which I don't see in our lifetimes, there'll always be a link. So look at Circle USDC.
Mm-hmm.
Silicon Valley Bank goes down because of a banking crisis linked to interest rates. Circle's reserves, 8% of the reserves are in a bank. So you still have your crypto reserves being held in institutions who are exposed to banking crises. this is why I was sad to see the demise of Luna, right? Because it was in theory, an algorithmic native DeFi stablecoin that was de-linked to fiat. But guess what? It got brought down because of leverage, unsustainable yields, actors. So I don't think platforms like Marhaba DeFi and Takadao are going to manage financial crises. There'll be a systemic effect that happens, but will your platform, if you have exposure to the real world, then it's going to feed through.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have exposure to the real world, which I don't foresee in the near future, you're not going to be able to sort of escape it, I think, 10, 20 years. So you have to manage your exposure to volatile assets. So if in Takadao, Marhaba DeFi, you're exposed to gold or land or something, you might think it's safe, but if everybody in the real world starts dumping gold because their stocks are down, well, then that's going to affect DeFi. So, yeah, I think they're still going to be coupled, and you just have to manage your wealth in a way that you have least risky assets along together with risky assets.
Okay. I know we're over time, but this next question, I think we'll make it the last question before I give you guys a moment to, say your last few words, because this question ties in very well with this question. I just gotta put it out there. I'm sorry, guys. You guys can, but you guys will come back for another call. I know this. So, hello, guys. How can DeFi platforms like Takada and Marhaba work to increase trust in the technology so that it sees even greater adoption as economies recover in the coming years?
What we're doing now, right?
Mhm.
Conversations, discussions, videos.
Education.
That's what we're doing, right?
Hmm.
It's early stages and just communicating and sharing, about what we're building is what we're trying to do, and inshallah, hopefully succeeding. If we succeed, then obviously trust will grow. And even if we fail, if it was transparent and the reasons are understood and why not, learn from the lessons, the next version, there'll be iterations, and inshallah one day, there'll be technology that is successful and stable and has, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people participating.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I echo Khalid. Okay, nobody's immune to failure. Okay,
Hmm.
but at the same time, um there's iteration in everything. Even if both of us or many of the builders in the Web3 as Muslim, we literally were the early forefather, I would say, of the Muslim Web3 generation.
Hmm.
We might be replaced for better product, for better things, or people might improve on the foundation that we build. What mattered to us as a Muslim, I think, the most is that we were part and we are part of this. If a success happened within our lifetime as a product, DeFi product as Muslim, alhamdulillah, we get this reward today and for akhirah. If it doesn't happen, guess what? Everybody involved, we get the ajr, because when we long pass, people will use this technology, will use the foundation we build on to create a more sustainable Islamic product for the future. I look
Hmm.
at, for example, the first people who thought about reviving the takaful concept of insurance. They were in Sudan. They built the proper takaful concept in 1950s, 1955, something I heard, the 60s. Eventually, they had no money to execute on their project. So he was born in Sudan from those guys. Those guys are, Allah yarhamhum, long time gone. This concept has been taken by people in Malaysia and Saudi Arabia, and they created the first takaful based on their research and their work. So they got the ajal. So the way we look at it, we want a tawfiq, success for what we're doing at Marhaba,
MashaAllah.
DeFi,
MashaAllah.
Takadao. But there will be people better maybe, or they will be even improving ourselves. So alhamdulillah, we welcome also competition product to build on what we're doing, and we're not immune from failure, but we try our best to be there on a daily basis to represent our community and to serve you. That's what matters, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So, should you want to chime in, or should we go right to the closing remarks? She's like, I'm at
I'm done.
it. I want to give a big shout out to everybody who's watching because I see great conversations. I mean, I'm still getting questions that are amazing, and unfortunately, guys, we don't have the time. So shout out to Sister Aisha, whoever she is. I am Moot, whoever you are, buddy. Thank you so much for your engagement. A lot of you guys, other than that, are also really involved. Layla, appreciate all you guys. I'm gonna give each one of you guys a quick, let's say, 30 seconds to wrap up. Remember, your last remarks are in regards to the original topic of this panel, defining Islamic finance. Is crypto the answer? I will let again sisters go first, so Sister Shireen, and then we'll work our way down to finishing it off.
So, as I had said earlier, I think the most important thing that we brought up is that people really should care about DeFi. People really should care about the blockchain. It's no longer just a thing that is in the news and that, is going up and down like this. You need to get involved. You need to learn. You need to understand. You need to start dipping your toe in the waters cautiously because this is going to impact you for the future.
Okay, amazing. Khalid.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't like the question actually. Is crypto the answer? Um, I think blockchain, tokenization, Web3, DeFi, all of these things are part of an ecosystem because I think a lot of crypto is too risky for a lot of people. So I would just say, look, learn, experiment, try with money you can afford to lose, and when the system becomes more stable, more established, then there'll be time to sort of get more involved more heavily. But for the time being, download a wallet, mess around, experiment, and just learn. Use it to learn about the space and build or participate as is suitable for your risk appetite and tolerance.
Amazing. Brother Morrad.
Yeah, shukran. I think, yeah, I echo Khaled again. It's not only about the Web3. The blockchain is not crypto only. Crypto is one part of that technology, and is one of the potential, technology that we could use as an alternative way to whatever the current fiat model is, definitely. But we are really into look. We have our back against the wall today. Everything we touch, it's affecting us. Riba is everywhere. Okay. So if some people come and some innovator comes and start discussing blockchain, Web3, other solution that shababs, young people can put their head into it. And we are really at the beginning. That's why I'm talking to the builders. I'm talking to the innovators. I'm talking to the earliest adopter. The AME, they will be using the product when it's completely finished in the next 2, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. We're talking about the young people who are the first adopters into that technology to challenge themselves to go test what is happening there and build the community around and start bringing your community, building this community. And I see it happening all over. I cannot say this is an alternative to what we have. We have nothing clearly that is benefiting us today.
Mm-hmm.
What we have, it's what is in front of us. This new
Mm.
technology, this new ability to change the table. Don't forget, it's a changing world. It's not anymore a bipolar world or like one single nation dictating things, unless, of course, they start doing messy things around. There's many, many nations looking at changing this. So if those things are happening, it's a good time for us as Muslim, non-Muslim, to build up a more sustainable ecosystem through this Web3, blockchain, and whatever technology is available for us to find an alternative to what we have. Okay, that's my 2 cents.
With that vision statement right there, so you have a future and a foresight of what's going on and what we should be looking forward to. I want to thank Morad and Sister Shireen from coming from Takadown, and I want to thank Khalid for their time. And I really appreciate that we extended this by pretty much 30 minutes. I hope you guys like this conversation. And if you have questions, and I see you guys have a lot of questions, keep bringing them on because this might merge onto our next conversation, inshallah, in the future. Or B, we'll have our representatives answer your questions in the meantime. As always, thank you so much for your time. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.